This is the Painting Business Pro Show, where we share inspiring stories from people who are just like you, who have created extraordinary results in their business and their life. We'll take the mystery out of it and show you behind the scenes exactly how these results happen. There's a simple process and a roadmap to follow to create life-changing success in business. You are capable of more than you realize. So listen in, discover what's possible, and let's unlock your potential. Let's go. All right, what's up, Evan?
How's it going, Eric?
Going good, man. All right, so let's start off with why you took me up on the offer to review your business plan.
Because you're the best coach I know. No, seriously, I mean, it's super helpful. Master business plan, knowing your numbers, knowing your goals, that's the heartbeat of your business. So I want to get that dialed in for 2025.
Remind me when you started.
I started about a year and a half ago. So my first job was late June 2023.
Late June 23. All right, so this was the first full year in business. Looks like, okay, and then the sales just hasn't been updated for like the last few weeks. Is that right?
Exactly. It's through the end of October.
Okay, cool. So through October, 530,000 in sales. First full year in business, production's tracking. Very cool, man. Yeah, anything just to share, like what's been your experience for first 16 months in business? How do you feel like it's going?
It's going well. I mean, much better than I could have anticipated. And I mean, I really credit that to just getting in the program and just submitting myself to, good leadership who's been there before, asking a lot of questions. I mean, I like having the freedom to ask questions, even just asking, not just on the webinar, but even in the Facebook group. And then, just putting into action. I mean, I've never been afraid of taking action. I've always been a diligent personality. Previously, started a nonprofit and led that for a little bit of time. And so I've always been kind of that entrepreneurial personality.
What were your expectations before you started?
Honestly, Eric, I didn't know what I was doing. Honestly, I thought I was going to be like a traditional painting company, one of those guys that just starts out painting and brings on a helper, because I had done it for about 5 years and it was just.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I started working with my family, got a family full of contractors. That's what got me in it. I actually planned, while I painted for 5 years, I was going through graduate school at a seminary that's based in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I planned actually after that to go like overseas for missions work. And COVID happened, a lot of stuff happened, and the doors just slammed shut. And so I find myself in needing to make a decision, and I had all this painting experience, and I just went for it. I went for it, and we found PVP. And I actually remember, this is kind of funny, but I went to church one morning, and I'm going down to the altar to pray. And I believe that at that moment, that was when God told me to do PVP. I don't know what if you've heard other people say that, but this is legitimately this is my experience, and it's been amazing. I mean, I think that I would have floundered, honestly, without it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of I did. I mean, there's a lot of hard-earned lessons to avoid if you would like to. Mm-hmm. And then what are your goals with your business? Like in the next year, but in the next few years, like what are your goals?
Yeah, ultimately just to create that freedom. I mean, I want to build a team. So Q1 next year, already planning. I've got a little office space nailed down, $400 a month. Super excited about that, right where I want it to be. And planning to bring on a project manager for the spring, because I hit capacity. And if it wasn't going into winter, I would have already, been hiring a project manager.
Okay, great. So you haven't, but you could have, but just timing, you decided to wait.
Exactly. Yeah, right. I actually had to turn off leads multiple times, like summer and fall. And I was like, okay, you don't want to be doing that. I need to hire a project manager. So that's the goal. And then next year, I mean, possibly towards the end of the year, could hire a salesperson or an office manager. But definitely by spring 2026, definitely want to be hiring a salesperson, and then hopefully have a 5-person team by 2027.
I think that timeline is right on. So let's pull up yours. I'm just going to comment on some things, and then we'll whip together a business plan for you. By the way, I'd recommend just listen to the other ones too, just to like get the thinking around these business plans. That's like I think where most people go wrong is they're kind of making plans like as if like the plan is what's going to happen. And if I make a lower plan, then bigger things aren't possible. Like it's either a limit. So I have like I'll only ever do what I aim to do. And that's not the case. So I think you're thinking about it the right way with, just that timeline you just laid out. So, but you might check out the other ones and listen to them when you're on the road or something like that.
Cool.
All right, so let's look at your roadmap. And for anybody who hasn't seen this before, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or something like that, I'd watch the YouTube video so you can see what I'm looking at. If anyone hasn't seen this, this is kind of the roadmap we have for members on, and I've talked about it in YouTube videos, but what boxes you should be checking off along the way to building the business. Let's see. So marketing. So it sounds like this is really just how you're managing your marketing. Is that right? Like a note for yourself?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And then start working on commercial. Okay, cool. That's great. And then start adding some commercial next year. Great. So marketing is strong though. Like you already said, you had to turn it off. And then percentage, you're under 10%.
Yeah. The numbers say I'm at around 6% right now.
Is your overhead up to date through October?
Through October.
Like. Okay. So 48,000 spent on marketing to sell 540. Yeah. So you're under 10%. Do you have a set estimating procedure? Are you using Shane spreadsheets? Are you using Paint Scout, or what are you using?
So I got into PBP right before Shane spreadsheets came out. So I literally started with the old standards, just, your basic standards. And then what I did was I adopted Shane spreadsheets for a more professional look and to use technology. But I bought into Paint Scout. I just haven't had the time to actually use it. So that's one of my goals this winter is to get proficient with that.
And then this 50% to labor materials, why is that one in progress?
Yeah. So right now where I'm at is I'm doing 50% to labor and materials. And then I'm giving discounts of sometimes 10%, sometimes 15%. Sometimes I don't give a discount. So I'm trying to get closer to that 50%, but I feel like I have a pretty good idea of where the labor market is for cost of goods sold. So I feel like I have a pretty good idea of where the market's at for where good subs will take 50% of my full price. But I'm just like, because I don't need all that profit right now for myself, and because I'm just trying to line up jobs, keep them coming, I'm giving discounts more than I would be.
So don't do that. Have this be, I want this to be, if we look at the job class cards, I want to see 50% on every single one of these before you bring on your PM, because otherwise you're going to have issues with your project manager, because you'll start, when you have inconsistencies, it creates a precedent that it's not 50% every time. When you start saying, well, that one I gave a little different discount so you can pay more, it's going to start to create this environment or this situation where every job gets negotiated. When that happens, it's going to create tons of inefficiency. It ends up creating a situation where it undermines the partnership and relationship with subs. And your production manager is torn between being on the side of the company but being on the side of the sub. You want your production manager to have a really tight relationship with the crews and the guys. But when they have a really tight relationship with the crews and the guys, and then the guys are asking for more money because sometimes we can get more money and sometimes we don't get more money, and then they start, like, the subs are asking them and they have a good relationship, and then they're talking to you and you need to say no, and then it starts just creating like toxicity. So you need to get to a point. What I would recommend doing is figure out how you're doing your pricing so that for some way or another you end up giving people the savings.
Okay.
So it's just consistent, or you make sure that when they don't get savings, like, your margin goes up. And then transparency with estimating on Paint Scout will help, because you can say, look, like, they're estimated the same every time, guys. This person I just literally charge more money for. But you got to get that one dialed as well before you bring on the PM. So this would be like, this whole thing is better. I would prioritize this over do any work on commercial.
Gotcha.
So because commercial is not really the bottleneck to the business. You could say that commercial is actually just a marketing activity. You're just, just like you're turning off lead sources right now. Marketing is just a lead source that requires labor to get the leads. The thing that's the bottleneck for you is your time. And the way you solve that bottleneck is hiring a production manager, but you don't want to hire a production manager until the systems are clean.
Gotcha.
And this is one of the most important ones to have clean before PM.
Okay.
And then, so obviously, this is all, what are you selling? So you're 84 book jobs on 233. So I'd also, I mean, you can hire a PM before you get that cleaned up. But we'll want to improve your sales rate for sure.
Yeah.
Because that's what's 84 divided by 233?
It should be about 35%.
Yeah, it's 36. So
36.
we want to get that to 45 for sure. Okay. I would be like Q1. That's probably the one, Evan, that you don't really need.
Okay.
To get solved before you hire a PM, but you do need to get that solved before you hire a sales rep. So this could be Q1 2025 if you want. So I'll just put my notes and highlights here for you. I would if it's not highlighted, it's like probably not probably push. You could probably push the commercial if you need to get the highlighted stuff done first. Prepare to hire a PM. Probably would be like that would come after these other, that would come after this is cleaned up. 50%, that's already handled above. Okay, let's talk about a couple of these notes here. So consistent updates on your MVP file. Contractor's license, got it. So S Corp, what I would recommend, man, is that you create a new entity. So it's, ES, LLC, whatever you call it. Mine's the Decisive Element LLC. It's my S Corp.
Okay.
My S Corp owns my interest in all of the LLCs. So keep your painting company in LLC, create an S Corp, and then transfer your equity from Evan to the S Corp. So then you take distributions from the LLC to the S Corp to you, and then you pay yourself a wage out of your S Corp. So you get the tax benefit, but you don't get the limitations that come with creating your painting company as an LLC. Or I'm sorry, as an S Corp. So if you create it as an S Corp, the problem is that another entity can't own S Corps. Individuals own S Corps. If you ever want to give any equity, your profit share away, or things like that, it creates some other challenges. And I'm just speaking from experience.
Okay.
We switched Foothills to an S Corp, and then it just created so many issues. We created it back to an LLC, and I paid some tax burden to do that.
Gotcha.
You want to keep the flexibility and the limited liability of the LLC. That's beneficial to you. And then you can still get the full benefit of the S Corp by creating an S Corp that owns your interest.
Gotcha.
Okay, this is all good. So, I mean, you have a pretty jam-packed next 6 weeks.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I mean, you've got this estimating thing, set up Paint Scout. That's a couple days. You've got to figure out how you're going to have that be consistent. You could talk about that on a webinar, talk to other people, see in the group how they're doing it. So this could probably take you a couple days and some practice. Yeah. This can be 2025. And then, I mean, your office you already found, right? You're just moving into it.
Yeah.
And then your contractor's license is you can knock all this stuff out. And then, yeah, just Q1. You're probably gonna take 8 to 10 weeks to hire.
Okay.
And then it's a couple weeks until they start. So I would think about it like Q1 is recruiting, Q2 is training.
Okay.
And just take your time on that. Okay. And then, the biggest opportunity you're gonna have to grow the business is, of course, hiring this PM is going to grow the business, but also you'll grow the business most significantly from cleaning up the margins and improving the sales ratio. Yes. Because you can't, time is your limitation. So you can significantly grow your income in the business with only those 3 changes next year. Fix the margin, improve the sales rate, hire the PM. And if you just do those 3 things, huge growth happens. So let's look at your sales plan real quick. So we know what we kind of can project for next year. 478 leads, 233 estimates done. Are you pretty choosy with who you do estimates for?
Not so much. So yeah, I'm glad you're getting into this because that's kind of one of my questions is if I need to be more choosy. I mean, I do rule people out with the initial call. I do. But there's some of them that are smaller jobs, that I'm okay, it's not super profitable, but I'm going to go
Yep.
do the estimate. And I still do those.
I would say that my concern is more like I thought you would be choosy with only a 48% lead conversion. I saw Jenna's name on the roadmap here. Who is Jenna?
That's my wife.
Okay. Does she do stuff outside of the MVP file? Is
She
she like,
She hadn't really done anything. We've been trying the last couple of weeks to get her involved, mainly helping with tasks right now, and then maybe going to try to do some more office manager type tasks. But I don't have a real job description.
okay. So you're the one who works the leads for now.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you've got a huge opportunity to increase your conversion there. That's all.
Yeah.
And then you've got 84 estimates booked on the 233, which is 36%. And so I think you can get the 49 up to 60. I think you get the 36 up to 50. And if you did that, the same 478 leads would be 286 estimates done. And at a 50% closing rate would be 143 jobs booked instead of 84, which is a 70% increase.
Yeah.
Just right there. And so if you did that, that also takes your marketing cost from what it was about 8%, let's call it. So it would take your marketing cost from 8% to 5%. So you would also increase profitability by 3 to 4% on your bottom line. So we've got a huge opportunity. So we have a huge opportunity to just improve that lead conversion, and then the sales rate. That alone would increase the whole business by 70% revenue and increase profit margin on that revenue as well, because it's more efficient use of marketing. Just to put in perspective of like, man, that's probably your other biggest focus for next year. I mean, it's really like to Q4 2025. It's increase sales rate, rate and conversion rate. To 60% would be a good goal for conversion rate, sales rate 50%. That's it. So like next year, that's the focus, and it's the PM. That's really it. All right. So everything else looks good. And then job size here. So you got 530,000 on 84 book jobs. So your average job size is 6,300. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
All right. So that also tells me that you probably don't need to be choosier with your leads. You already got a really healthy job size.
Okay.
What you could consider doing is doing a little bit of analysis. We could do this on another webinar.
Yeah.
But like where we start digging into all of those all those individual lead sources, because you got quite a few that you're using here.
I do.
I think what you probably could do is pull them all apart and be like, all right, which one's the healthiest and which one's the least healthy, and just get rid of the least healthy lead sources for now.
Gotcha.
And double down on the ones that are healthiest.
That's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that.
Because you also probably, the other thing you could do is like, if you had an increase in conversion, you would also have so many more estimates. And you don't really need that many more estimates. Like you're doing a pretty healthy number of estimates. So you could just chop a couple marketing sources and get the good ones going. So you have too many marketing sources at for the level you're at, I think. I don't think you probably need that many. All right. Commercial, you got a couple jobs. Again, I wouldn't have that be the huge focus yet. You'll start to be able to do commercial a lot more as you create leverage with hiring your team. And then production, you're just keeping pace with that at about 10 to 12K a week, it looks like. Yeah, that's at 43%. It's quite a bit of material. So, yeah, I mean, at 44%, like if you just clean that up, man, you've just got a lot of opportunity to have a much healthier business with no extra work. And then when you hire the PM, you can pick up a few more estimates, and like you should be able to grow the revenue by like 35% next year and grow the profitability by the 6% here. Plus another few percent on marketing. It's like, let's say you're going to do about 600,000 this year, and it's at 40% GP. So this is revenue, GP, and then if all we do is we improve the sales rate from 36 to 50, so that's 50 divided by 36 is the multiple. So if you did the exact same number of estimates, but you increase your sales rate to 50%, you would do 833,000 instead of 600,000.
Wow.
And if you had 50% GP instead of 44, your gross profit would be 416,000 instead of 264.
It's crazy.
So this is the impact. So that's $152,000 increase with no increase in time. And then what you're going to do is, the reality is, then you're going to add a PM. So that's the only change to make. It's like increase sales and fix your margin. Critical. And then you've got this extra $152,000 in gross profit. And really your overhead doesn't change here. This drops straight to your bottom line. So you're producing more jobs though, but your PM is going to come in. Let's say you pay a PM 70K, 75K. So now you're actually up 75,000 ish. We'll do the actual math, 152 minus 75. So now you're actually up this much increase in income, but no production.
Right.
So it cuts your work week by about 40%. And then what we do is we go, okay, but then let's add like 3 estimates per week. At 50%, that's 1.5 more jobs per week. So that's 1.5 times $6,300 job size is an extra $9,400 a week. At a 50% margin, that's another 47. And then let's say it's at a 40% margin because of marketing. This is 3,700 added profit per week with those 3 more estimates, which isn't as much time as producing those jobs took you. So let's just assume a 40-week year. That adds another 155. Okay, so this is how, with basically 3 moves for you, it's increase price to hit 50% gross, improve sales to hit 50% sales rate, higher PM, and then add 3 estimates per week. So I guess it's 4 moves. With those 4 moves, it means Evan works less. So how much a week would production take you?
Between 10 and 20.
Let's call it 15 hours.
Yeah.
Less from production. Then how long does 3 estimates take you?
6 hours.
So you add 6 hours for estimates, you take 15 out. So you work 9 hours less. You make how much more? That's 150 plus 77. You make 228,000 more.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So that's your 4 moves for the next year.
Okay.
You should be able to get a price increase done before the end of the year. And then this is literally like this improved sales, higher PM is like Q1 to Q2. And then this is like Q2 to Q4 is add the 3 estimates. This is Q4 2024. All right. So that's what it looks like, everybody.
There you go. Yeah.
And
that's
this
good.
should feel pretty easy.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it definitely simplifies it, breaks it down.
So what we look at, let's take a look back at your numbers quick.
Okay.
Well, actually, I have most of your numbers. So now let's go create the 2025 plan.
Okay.
All right. Now I'm just going to, Evan, you can delete all this off this file. I'm going to leave it here for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
But let's look at your 2025 now. All right. So we're going to go straight to the budget. All right. So we just said 833, right, was the goal. So I think if you put 800,000 here, and then this should be 50%. I would just get rid of paying for materials. So it's like 48% there and 2% here. And then you can pull over your variable expenses, your vehicle expenses, which were like nothing. Your overhead expenses are updated through October, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to end up at like 20K on those. Your overhead's going to go up just a little bit. So I'm just going to put it on this top line. You can put all the line items in there, but let's say it's 25,000, and then you're going to have a production manager for 75,000. So this is mostly going up by about $5,000. Let's actually bump it to 30,000 because I think it'll go up a little more than that because of the office and maybe insurance and a couple other things. Marketing should be, if you're going to sell, 800,000, it should be, 60, probably 60 is a good budget. $5,000 a month, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, you got tons of budget.
Yeah.
We go over the sales goal. Let's sell for 850 because you need to sell a little bit more than you're going to produce. Your job size is probably going to go up because you're going to increase price a little bit. And we'll move that conversion back to 50%. Sales rate, let's assume it's still at 35 for Q1. And then 40, we'll say 40 for Q2, 45 for Q3, and you get up to 50 by Q4.
Okay.
So you got a whole year to keep improving your sales. I would get ambitious and try and fix that faster though.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a little bit of seasonality where you're at, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Pretty much December, January, and February, it's really hard to do exterior.
Okay. So we'll say 20% of your business gets done in the first quarter, 20% in the last quarter, 30% the 2 middle quarters.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is what this looks like. Let's see how this looks. So you got 12 leads a week in Q1, 6 estimates done, 2 jobs booked for $14K. Feel like that's doable.
$7,000 job size, huh?
65. So it's these round. Yeah. Okay. So it's technically because technically on 6 estimates, a 35% sales rate is like 2.2 jobs or something.
Right. Not actually 2.
So
Gotcha.
It's rounding. Back on your 2024, what you're doing like last quarter was you averaged 10 leads a week.
Mm-hmm.
You averaged 6 estimates a week for 3 book jobs per week.
Sounds right.
So you literally did those Q1 numbers in quarter 2 and 3 this year. This last year in Q1, you averaged 12 leads a week. You averaged 5.2 estimates per week, and you averaged 2.1 jobs booked per week. So you hit these numbers last year already. Tracking that?
Yeah, it feels super doable.
Yeah. Well, it should. It should.
Yeah.
So effectively, and then it jumps up a little bit in this quarter, which would make sense because you're going to have a little more time when you start bringing on that PM.
Mm-hmm.
You got to jump it up to 8 estimates a week. And what I'd actually recommend, let's actually change this and go like 48% needs to be sold by here. I like that better. So you still have a little bit of a ramp up time here, because what's probably going to happen, Evan, is you can, the opportunity to exceed this goal for you or these targets is the sales rate.
Mm-hmm.
You can get the sales rate higher faster.
Mm-hmm.
You're in good shape. Production plan's pretty straightforward. It's 800K, and you'll probably do like 13% of it here. Yeah, 33, 70, 90. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then the way that this all plays out for you would be 800K done. Minimal overhead marketing, and it would be 235K in net. Now, here's the kicker though. Here's the value of that sales rate. You can get up to these 8 estimate a week weeks. Let me see what you did last year in Q2. You still average 6 estimates a week in quarter 2. You average 6 estimates a week in quarter 3. And you're averaging 4 estimates a week in quarter 4. So your marketing's got to go up just a little bit. But you said that you actually had to turn it down. So you could do more.
Yeah.
If you had the help from a PM. And you've been holding off on that. So once you do hire the PM, like, you just got to get up to those 8 estimates a week. But let's look at your 2025 here quick. So this is the 2025 sales plan. Mm-hmm. 12 leads a week. You can do it. 6 estimates, 2 book jobs. That's all done. Now, if we just change though, let me see how I could. This is what's kind of fun with tinkering with this stuff is I wouldn't change this as the plan, but I like to mess with it to see what if. All right. So what if I want these numbers? I want the 12 estimates and the 6 or the 12 leads, the 6 estimates and the 15 and 8. I want those to stay the same. But I want to change the sales rate. So let's just say you did 50 throughout the year. Mm-hmm. It drops the requirements here. So what would what would I be trending for if I did 50% the whole time? See, now we're back in about the same range. 11 estimates, 6, but I'm selling 3 jobs. 15, 8, selling 4, 8. So basically, we haven't changed the amount you're working. We've just changed the sales rate. And now the same number of leads and the same number of estimates is a $1.1 million plan.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go to your budget on that, if you were to add 300K here at 50%, remember, because it would be at 50%, you're not paying your PM anymore. You're not paying more for marketing. Your overhead's not up. It drops it would just change this. And your new bottom line would be 385. So the value for you of getting to a 50% sales rate by January 1st versus October 1st is 235. Is worth $150,000. So I could say, hey, Evan, I'll pay you $150,000 if you can get your sales rate to 50% by January 1st.
Wow.
I know people grossly underestimate the impact of that sales rate and how much it's worth to people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, man, what would you do for $150,000? Holy moly. Super profitable to fix that one thing. Not to mention, well, yeah, because that takes into account that I didn't need to change any marketing expense because it's the same number of leads and estimates.
Yeah. I'm also wondering how much the market, the lead service, how much that plays into the sales rate. So that's something I'm going to have to look into. I know you're probably going to say it shouldn't.
Well, the answer to that is if you look at the data, you'll see that I have a higher close rate on referrals than I do from Google, and I have a higher close rate on Google than I do from Facebook, and I have a higher close rate on Facebook than I do on Angie.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true. That's probably going to be true for anyone. But what I also can tell you is that you can close 50% of every single source. And actually, I mean, as the owner, you should be able to close like 60 to 70%.
Yeah, I've heard that, man. I want to get to that.
Yeah.
So I got to work on it.
Yeah, so then it would be like, where have I not allocated enough resources to getting better at it? You know, just time, role playing, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, coaching webinars, you know, like use us. We're going to put some sales role playing webinars together for next year. So there's going to be like sales coaching every single week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. To help with that and role playing and things like that, because it's just so valuable. I mean, if I can help you, even get that to, you know, that's going from 35 to 50.
Yeah.
Is worth $150K. But that also means that every 5% improvement is $50,000.
It's crazy. It's hard to even wrap your mind around. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just,
and it doesn't stop at 50. You can get it to 55. You can get it to 60. I have partners that sell 65 to 70% like of their own estimates routinely.
I'm struggling with it because I have that temptation. I want to keep the jobs going. And so I want my price to be affordable. And my 50% has gone down a lot since I started. It has. I realized that the first crew that I had, they were taking advantage of me. And at one point I just had to move on. And I've got a real good crew now, and it's a legit sub. And he's got a bunch of guys, he got 9 guys working for him. He really loves the relationship that we're developing. And I feel like this is the real market labor rate that I'm at.
Well, it maybe is, but I don't know if you know that. I
don't know that. Yeah.
I know you don't know that, for one.
Yeah.
Because you haven't experimented enough to know.
That's true.
You know, you haven't shopped it enough to know.
That's true.
You know, can I find another super good crew for 5% less? So the thing with pricing is you've got what's the market rate for labor and material. Material is pretty much just like what the price is. You know, I know different companies get different rates, but that's pretty set. And the labor rate is pretty much set in the market. Like the best labor will work for this rate. And as like an aggregate, you know, every individual is going to be a little different, but generally speaking, they're in your market and in any market, there is the rate. So if I take this house, to attract and keep the best crews, I've got to pay this price. So I need to figure out what that price is. And then I've got to double that price to have the margin to build a healthy company. And you've got to you're always going to be off on one of those until you've got them both. You're probably off on both of them until you get them figured out. And then once you've got them figured out, now you have a healthy business to scale. If you don't get those figured out before you start bringing on your team, it's going to be way harder to deal with once you have a team.
Right.
You've got way more psychology to work through, and people are not good at that themselves, and it's not easy to coach. Yeah. So in the course, we'll go back in the estimating section and look at the video on understanding the market. And a whole video, I would share it now, but it won't do it justice. But understanding, Evan, where all the prices are. Like, why, if my price is $6K, why is there someone who's doing it for 25? How does that work? What about the person at 3, 3,500, 4, 6? And then there's also people at 7,500 or 9. Like, you got to understand the market. And all markets are the same, because all markets have a market rate for labor and material. And we are always going to aim for double that number, because that's the margins you basically need to be at to build a healthy company. Because you want to attract the best crews. So you've got to have that as the baseline. You have to double it, because with that 50%, you need enough money to market to attract a lot of the clientele out there. You need enough money dedicated for sales commission to attract good salespeople, because a bad salesperson who sets bad expectations ends up in a bad experience for the customer. You need a certain percentage of that to pay a good PM. And, and our numbers, like, it's got to be 6 to 7% for sales and production, because 15 estimates a week, if I'm booking half of them, I'm booking 6 or 7 jobs, I'm booking 40K a week, 40 weeks out of the year, it's 1.6 million. Like, I'm making 100K as a sales rep. Like, if you want good people, like, you've got to be around 7% for sales. You got to be around 6 or 7% for production. You're going to be around 10% for marketing. Just add those up and you're already at 23%. So if I've got 50% margin minus 23, I've got 27 left. You're going to have overhead, office manager, insurance, accounting, other conferences, courses. You're getting an office, you're going to have vehicle expenses. You might have some additional, like, healthcare or 401k or other things you might eventually do. That 27 quickly turns to 20. If you're not, that's how it ends up. So if you're at a 55% gross margin, that 20 turns into 15. And you start getting slimmer and slimmer, where if you miss your targets by 200 grand in a year, that 15 turns into 7.
Yeah.
And so you have to be at 50. And so anyways, in the course, watch the market, understanding the market video, but then also go back to, like, I teach estimating, in that there's goal number 1 is I have a measurement based estimating system, so that I just measure, the system spits out the number. You got that part down right now. But then the second part is then I need to adjust those equations so that my price is at the right price, where 50% of that price attracts the right people. And I need to make sure that 50% is as low as it can go to still be attracting the right people. Okay. So in that estimating part of the course, we'll talk about, like, the process for getting that dialed in, because you have to. Yeah. It'll be the alternative. Let me say, if you don't, you'll be okay in the short term. I mean, aside from the fact that you're going to leave $60,000 out of your pocket on the table for a mindset change. Wow. But you'll still make good profit and all that. But if you don't make that change now, then when you continue to grow, because you said you want to get to a team where you've got a place where you've got a team and you've got a big business and you've got freedom, eventually you're going to get to this point where you're like, dude, I have to change this now. And changing it once you have 15 subs working for you and 2 project managers and 2 sales reps. And making the change then, however hard it is for you right now, because you've got this, like, thing stuck in your mind. Imagine that being stuck in your mind with 15 subs. It's such a harder change to make later. And you're going to leave in the 3 years getting there, you're going to leave $150,000 to $200,000 on the table.
That's the part I need to think about more. But I also think it's a mental thing. Yes, I do think there's like a block in my mind. But I think that it's also practically getting there. So can you talk to me a little bit, and I don't know if this is the place for this, maybe it's not, but about giving the discounts and creating the incentive, right? Because I understand that's the reason to create the incentive. So let's say, on the initial call.
Let's go into this on a webinar. Let's do this on a webinar.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, because I won't have time to go through that the right way.
Yes, totally.
But yeah, how do I actually get to those? Mm-hmm. How do I actually work all the pricing out so that the price I give, I can pay 50% to find great people and they're happy and we deliver a great job.
Yeah.
And every single time I sell a job, it can be there.
Right.
Because that's what you need to figure out in the next 2 months. And you can. This is easy, but I won't have enough time right now to unpack it.
Sounds good.
For now, what I would suggest, Evan, between now and that webinar, which will be, next week, I don't think I have one tomorrow, is watch that market, understand the market, and rewatch adjusting the price for your market. Those 2 videos in the estimating section will give you what you need.
Okay.
As a good baseline for that conversation.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
By the way, some of where you're having trouble with this price thing, that same thing you're stuck on here is the same thing that's limiting your sales effectiveness.
Why do you say that?
Because it is. Because you think price is, you've got to think about price.
That's true.
So you aren't confident in your own price.
That's true. Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes I've found out recently that my price is lower than I thought it was.
It is
in the market.
It is because, and I know it is. I could have told you that because your margins are low. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be and look, it's common because a lot of us we don't make as much money as our clients do. Mm-hmm. At least that's not at the beginning. And so it is a lot of money. When I was an 18-year-old college kid, like to put it $10,000 is how much I made in a whole year. To put that in front of a client, it's like, oh my God. But to a lot of the clients I was putting that price in front of, it was a rounding error. They're like 8, 10, whatever.
Yeah.
People buy on trust, not price. Yeah. And price in a lot of ways does determine the quality of work I can deliver.
Yeah. I went out and actually bid a house recently for a friend of mine. And he had Spraynet came and they bid the house for $2,000 more than me at 50% margins. I was looking at 50% margins. I was 2,000 less than them. And so I was like, maybe I got to think about this.
Yeah. Yeah. When you go beyond 2.5 to 3 million, you're going to have to be better than 50%. And so then there's going to be companies. So anyways, check out those videos. They'll be really good. Anyone who's watching would love feedback. Drop a comment below the video. Let me know what you took out of this. Let me know any questions you have. Let me know if you like these. You want me to do more of these. Any last words from you, Evan? Anything you want to share about? What are you taking out of the conversation?
I'm just stupid sometimes, I guess. You got to think about these things. So I'm going to work on sales. I'm going to work on 50% gross profit margins and really try to get things dialed in. I don't know why I try to buck the system sometimes, but I'm going to work on it.
Yeah, you and everyone else. Yeah. I'm glad. Yeah. What I took out of the call is I'm stupid. Nice. What I was going for. Nah, man, it's I think this is really valuable because I think a lot of people are like, don't think about it in this way. And that's the point of doing these is like to reveal the simplicity that this can be. Mm-hmm. Like it should be simple. If it's not simple, you're not doing it right. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I think you got a good plan. Yeah. All the notes I made on both files, I'll share the 2025 with you so you've got it so you can start to consolidate all this stuff.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
Awesome, my man. Okay.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the show. I hope you found it valuable. We make these episodes in the show for you, truly. So your feedback is super valuable to us, whether it's, things you liked, things you didn't like, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. Any feedback you can give us is going to be super helpful as we continue to evolve and improve the show over time. And if you want a copy of the Fast Growth Roadmap for Painting Contractors, which really simplifies the steps you take to building a business, we've got that resource for free for you. Just check the description or the bio where you're watching or listening to this episode, and you can just click and download that for free, and it should help give you a good roadmap for how to build and scale your business like the people that you're listening to on the show. So thanks for listening in. We'll see you soon.